Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Infinity, and this is Magnetize Yourself, where we talk about life, love, spirituality, and of course, the law of attraction. In today's video, we are doing a reading and energy update for our beautiful collective here on YouTube. So thank you so much for tuning in today. This is our start of the week check-in. I do these readings every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And on those times and days, there is also an extended version of these reading videos as well. So if you are feeling a resonance here and you would like to tune in to the extended version of the reading, you can always do so by clicking the link that I leave in the pinned comment and description box underneath these videos. There has been so much information coming through, especially the last few days, and I'm really curious to know how many of you have been feeling waves of either like inspired energy or new thoughts kind of coming through you, because the sense that I'm getting is that this is sort of happening in the void. So on the one hand, there has been this feeling of the void that we've been talking about a lot in recent reading videos. And there's a feeling that the energy we're working with right now as a collective is really new. So it's unlike any kind of energetic space we've ever entered into before. And the message that I keep picking up as well is that this is new for everyone, that everyone is feeling this bit of uncertainty in this energy. So if you've been feeling this way, but feeling like other people seem to have things figured out or seem to know how to work with these new shifts we're experiencing, know that everyone to some extent and in their own way is going through this really deep reset and recalibration right now. And that was actually one message that came through, that it's almost as though everything in your life is being reset and rearranged, but it's happening through what my guides were referring to as a standstill. And the imagery that I kept getting was the image of something slowing down, like maybe a car or some other kind of machine, slowing all the way down to a stop and then reorienting itself and beginning to pick up momentum again in a new direction. But it's as though that standstill, of course, has to happen first. It has to come to a standstill in order to be redirected, in order to go through that reset and begin building momentum in a new direction. And so what I'm getting is that if this video has found you, it may be finding you at this time and space because you are at some such standstill where you may be feeling as though things in your life are somehow slowing down, or something feels like it's losing momentum, but there's actually this reset happening that is completely redirecting you. And I'm hearing that you're going to begin to feel as though there is a different kind of momentum building in this new direction. But again, this is going to feel very unfamiliar for you. So you may begin to notice that you feel inspired in a new direction, whether it's the inspiration to create something or to share something with the world or to do things differently. And you're going to notice that those urges come from this place of either excitement or like having this expanded vision for yourself and your life, this sense of, it's almost like your vision is being cracked open to some extent, and like the horizons are broadening for you and you're able to see this much greater picture for yourself in your life. But then there may be other times where suddenly you feel that sort of that fear mindset takes over and you start to kind of feel as though you're shrinking again or backsliding. But what I'm getting very strongly is the importance of only taking action from that place of excitement, from that place of seeing the expanded vision and being inspired, resisting the temptation to take action when you are feeling urgency or fear or panic or anything like that, because any of those like negative, urgent feeling emotions are an indication that it's almost like an old patterning is being triggered within you that you've already outgrown. So any direction that you try to go in or any action you try to take from that fear-based energy is not going to bring you the results that you desire, because it's working with an old template. It's like this urge coming up from an old template of creation that is no longer operable for you in the same way. And so what I'm getting is that when you allow yourself to be moved by what I wrote down here as like this higher energy, and I will be reading a little bit from my notes. I have written down so many notes in my journal just the last couple days. So there is so much to talk about here. A lot of it is related to these energy shifts that you may be feeling. A lot is related to what might be going on for you even in your love life. I was definitely picking up on some potential romantic threads of energy here as well. But what I wrote down here regarding this higher energy is a higher energy is trying to lead you forward. And the affirmation I got associated with this that I also put on my Instagram is, I'm learning new ways of growing that are actually more in harmony with my intuitive rhythm, my core energy, and my natural flow. And it felt like this could be a really powerful kind of mantra for someone, because it does seem as though you are adjusting to new forms of growth. And the message that keeps coming through is that the way that you grow moving into the future is not going to look like the way that you grew or the way you defined progress before. So there may have been a certain way that you would get certain results or grow in certain ways or progress in certain ways. But what I'm getting is that you've expanded into something else, new systems of growth. And the thing about these new systems of growth is they are actually more aligned with your core energy, with your intuitive rhythm. They're going to feel better for you, in essence, in the long run. They're going to be more sustainable. I'm also getting the word exponential. So these new ways of growing are actually going to allow you to grow exponentially in a way that you wouldn't have been able to in the past, because I'm hearing that in the past, you were limited by something. I don't know how that is for you or what that's referring to for you personally, but it feels as though in the past, whether it was emotional, energetic, or literal, there was something kind of capping out your growth or preventing you from having more exponential growth or expansion. And now it's like that glass ceiling is broken and those limiters have been removed. And so part of this new energy that we're working with and kind of trying to unravel here through these readings, one piece at a time, is that this new energy, while in some ways it feels like a breath of fresh air because there's something really open and expansive and limitless and free about it, it can also feel like that vastness is overwhelming to our spirit, this knowingness that, whoa, we are unlimited. We can expand exponentially. We aren't capped out the way we were before. It's almost like your soul is sensing that, the bigness of the vision that you've now, like, in a way, like broken through previous limitations. But that can feel overwhelming, or at least be interpreted temporarily as overwhelm when you're adjusting to that bigger vision, to that vastness of yourself and your life. So that is the first thing that I wanted to say here. And what I also wrote down, I'm going to be just reading a little bit from my notes, is that you're going to start noticing increasingly that a shift in your energy aligns you with a totally new reality. And you may already be noticing this. So you may be noticing that when you activate a certain point of focus within yourself, I spoke in, I believe it was the most recent collective reading on Friday, about how you are a very powerful focuser. And so when you activate a point of focus, you do so purely and so intensely and powerfully that you literally start to immediately attract in this whole new reality based on that energy. And so specifically, I was getting something about your interpersonal interactions and relationships. So the way that you might notice this showing up the most strongly could actually be in the way that other people interact with you or in the way you align with other people within your reality. So for example, you'll notice that when you are in a frequency of love, unconditional self-love, feeling lit up, inspired, emanating that kind of just soft, loving, open energy into the world, you're going to notice more so than ever that that really attracts entirely different kinds of people and interactions into your life. Almost like even if you're living in the same physical area or around the same physical places, you notice yourself connecting with entirely different types of people, almost like you're in a brand new city, but it's the same city literally. It's just that your frequency is aligning you with whole new people and experiences. And the opposite is also true. Like if you notice that in a day, you've been focusing more, let's say, to the negative, or you've been feeling yourself in some kind of spiral, you may feel as though you're suddenly connecting with all kinds of people and things physically that you haven't been connecting with. And it's almost like you're going to start noticing that certain things in people seem to correspond to certain frequency bandwidths. Like when you activate certain frequencies in yourself, you seem to connect with certain kinds of people and things based on that frequency. And that is why we are really having it emphasized to us more so than ever before, the importance of tuning into yourself before you tune out into the world, because that tuning into yourself is you tending to your own frequency and energy first. That is you activating a point of focus within yourself and essentially choosing and pre-paving what kind of physical reality you're going to step into that day based on that particular energy, because it's aligning you with a very specific timeline. But I'm just getting that you're going to notice this level of responsiveness from your physical world, meaning the world responding even more immediately and strongly to your energy shifts than ever before. And I feel that this has to do with like this openness in your field right now that you've cultivated over the course of time. So you've spent a lot of the last several weeks, years, whatever it's been for you, unblocking yourself energetically, doing inner child work or shadow work, healing from maybe past traumas, really opening up your energy field. But now you've gotten to a point where your energy is so open that it works both ways. You both have the ability to receive energy extremely strongly and intensely, which may make you quote unquote more sensitive. You may feel more hypersensitive to people, things, dynamics, environments, collective planetary shifts than usual. But on the other side of this equation, having that openness in your energy also means you are able to transmit with equal force and intensity. And this kind of brings me to another conversation about, well, there's a few different things here. But one is from a channeling I was doing just on my own in my journal a couple days ago. And I wrote down some points from this. But what I was writing down, oh, here, I found it in my journal, is that you feel things and you go through things first, meaning before the collective. So I feel I'm speaking to a person who always finds that they seem to feel things first and more intensely than people around them. So at first, people may think that you are just overly sensitive or that you're reading into something or whatever. But then later on, they end up going through some of the same shifts or experiencing some of the same realizations or feelings. It's almost like you are, almost like I'm hearing you're testing something, almost like a pilot version of something or like a beta testing group. It's sort of like you get to test out new energies, new frequencies, new levels of consciousness in a sense for the collective. So you go through things first, but from a technical standpoint, the reason you go through things first is that we as a planetary collective receive the same kinds of spiritual energies that turn into downloads, that turn into inspiration, creativity, inner shifts. However, most of the collective is really closed off to being able to consciously receive those shifts right away. They often have to work through their energy system really gradually. But like we mentioned earlier, you are someone who's really unblocked yourself energetically, so you become very fluid and open in your energy field. And so one byproduct of that is when a new wave of energy reaches the collective, like a spiritual upgrade or a download or whatever it is, the reason you metabolize it more quickly is because your energy is more open and receptive to it. But again, from another perspective, it's almost like you're beta testing these energy upgrades. And so what I'm getting is you always feel a little bit like you are an outcast or misunderstood, almost like a trendsetter, like someone who is in the fashion industry and is the first one to do some kind of bold new style or fashion, and everyone around them might think that it's so weird or crazy until the trend catches on, and then everyone's doing it, and this person is seen as a trendsetter or a leader. And I feel like that's you, but with energy and with the collective, it's like you are constantly the energy trend setter, but it happens naturally because, again, your field is so open and fluid that you're naturally receiving all of this energy and like processing it, metabolizing it before the rest of the collective. And so people naturally see you as this spiritual leader, but it goes even deeper than this, because the next download I was receiving around this, and I do apologize if you're someone who doesn't always love the more quantum messages. That's just what's really been wanting to come through recently. So I really hope, and I set the intention for this reading to find those of you who do really love and enjoy these more quantum style reading videos, because there has just been so much of that kind of information coming through. And I know many of you are feeling that as well, because you are, of course, equally capable of receiving and interpreting all of this energy. We all have equal access to it. So it's my goal through this reading to help you to confirm your own intuition to yourself. But of course, you are the intuitive one. You are the powerful one. You are the guide in a sense. But anyway, it's deeper. It's more powerful than this, because you also are leading the way for the collective by, in essence, kind of cracking the code on these new energies. So whenever we're working with something very new that we've received as a planetary, human, global collective, it's disorienting at first, especially to those like you who are more sensitive and open. And that's what's happening right now on the planet. You are someone who is very fluid, very sensitive, very attuned, very open. So you are picking up on this planetary upgrade that we're receiving as humankind, but you're feeling it first. You're metabolizing it more quickly. And so what you're essentially doing is you're cracking the code of it internally. You're like unraveling and processing it internally. And this is allowing you to create some kind of map or blueprint for how to work with this energy that then allows you to pave the way for others. So when you come into breakthroughs within yourself, we spoke on this previously when it comes to light codes. Like whenever you have a breakthrough internally, it's actually like a light code, so to speak, a frequency that is then activated within you that also then naturally emanates outward and makes it easier for others to access the same breakthrough. But that kind of concept was coming up here again with this new energy we're working with, and how you are, in essence, cracking the code of these shifts that are happening collectively, leading the way first. And that is probably why this feels so dysregulating and confusing and ungrounding to you. It's also why it at times triggers that fear mechanism to come back up and try to control. But again, if I could emphasize one message in this reading, what I would say is do not give in to the fear or the urgency or the panic that is coming from the old programming. In fact, it reminds me of a reading I did, I think a week or two ago, about doing the opposite. Like when fear is triggering you in one direction, do the exact opposite. Because I'm getting the word overcompensating. It's almost like this fear reaction can make you want to overcompensate to quote unquote like fix something or resolve something or prevent something that the mind is afraid of. whenever you feel that that old patterning is triggering you into some kind of like urgent, frantic action, instead, I want you to take a deep breath and to do everything you can to simply embrace the unknown and to like relax into the void. It kind of reminds me of being in a sensory deprivation chamber where you are like underwater and you're floating and it's dark and you are completely blocking out all of your other senses, but you're just like not resisting that void because it's allowing you to deeply rest and relax and reconnect with yourself internally. That's sort of what's happening here. It's like when you're in that sensory deprivation chamber, in essence, in your life, when you're in that void, when you feel like you are in the complete unknown, do you allow it to be a time to reconnect you more deeply with yourself and to recalibrate you and to reset you? Or are you fighting and resisting it and like trying to kind of like fight or work your way out of it and just expending this energy, spinning your wheels? And that's kind of the choice point that I feel us being at right now, not just once, but it feels like a choice that comes up maybe for some of you even multiple times a day right now, where you may feel that fear surfacing, trying to trigger you to take some kind of frantic action from a place of fear, but the soul is telling you do the opposite, slow down, lean even further into it. But there's something else going on here as well. Because again, there will be moments where you feel inspired from a different place. So it's all about hearing where the inspiration is coming from right now, because you're going to have those moments where you feel like you're spinning your wheels, like you're spiraling, like there is fear coming up, fear of the unknown, fear of some kind of loss or uncertainty. And when that fear is activated, it's very important to regulate your nervous system, to come into that state of calm, to recenter yourself. However, at sometimes you may feel an opposite energy inspiring you. And this is where you feel that newness and that broader vision coming into focus and this sense of expansion, expansiveness, exhilaration. When you're feeling inspired from that energy in a more like soft, open, flowing way, of course, let yourself move with that. But choosing to only act when you're in that softer, more open state and to allow that momentum to build instead of diluting that momentum by acting from that softer, more inspired place and then clamping down and acting from the fear, that kind of back and forth energy. When you refuse to give into the fear and say, I am going to embrace the unknown, embrace the void, and only take action when it's coming from a soft, open, inspired place within myself, and to allow that momentum to build quietly and softly and slowly, you're going to notice an exponential new kind of growth. And again, a growth that is actually more in harmony with your soul, with your soul's natural rhythm, with your intuition. But it requires so much trust because the mind is going to come in and try to inspire you from that lower place, from that fear mentality. You may even notice a lot of those fears surfacing in really vivid or strong ways right now. So again, it could be sudden waves of panic or anxiety, but this also could even be trouble sleeping sometimes at night. This also could be nightmares for some of you. The sense that I was getting is that your subconscious is actually burning away. I'm hearing the excess, almost like excess nervous energy or fear patterning that may have been lingering, even though you've done so much healing work on yourself. It's like the subconscious now is doing the rest of the work, burning all of that away. And that process is happening automatically, but it's important to allow that process and not to freak out when you notice it happening, when you do maybe feel restless or have trouble sleeping or feel a fear wave coming over you, to do your best to allow it to be the subconscious burning away process that it is, and to rest and to regulate yourself and to recenter yourself, whatever that looks like for you. And of course, we all have different ways of really grounding ourselves, regulating our nervous systems, all of those things. And I know that you probably know what works for you personally. But what I wrote down here, and I'm kind of skipping around in my notes, but sort of doing so intuitively at the same time, I wrote, what feels like an ending is only the beginning. Not resisting is the key. So there's something about this current, well, we keep calling it the void, this current energy state that may actually feel as though everything is ending. There's that sense of, again, like things coming to a standstill, but I'm getting that it's actually like the beginning of a whole new way of operating, a whole new way of growing, a whole new kind of momentum that you've never even begun to tap into in the past. I'm hearing your growth is going to be breathtaking. Like you're going to be growing so quickly and exponentially in the future that you are going to shock even yourself and definitely the people around you as well. I'm really picking up that energy around someone, but it requires such a deep level of trust that however your intuitive rhythm is guiding you is correct for you. So this has been coming up again in this reading, even though we've spoken on it before. And it's this concept that your soul has a timing about it and a rhythm about it that is very unique to you. And about how when you are more in alignment with that inner soul's timing, you are actually in alignment with the highest vibrational timeline for you personally. Yet there's often a readjustment phase where when you're beginning to tap into that timing and that intuition, you may temporarily feel as though things are falling apart or things are backsliding, but that's not really the case. It's the recalibration. It's the subconscious burning away of the old patterning. It's you being redirected after the standstill before the next wave of growth and momentum in that new direction. So what I wrote down here also that I feel is really worth talking about is going back to the concept of those waves of anxiety or those negative emotions that may come up that I said it's very important not to resist, but to allow. There's kind of another piece with that, because what I'm getting is that every, what we might refer to as negative point of consciousness within us is actually a breakthrough in the making. So whatever you feel surfacing right now, whether it's a fear or an anxiety or something negative that you're feeling, what I'm getting is that there is not just an equal breakthrough, but a breakthrough that can actually catapult you 10 times further than that fear may have held you back. It's like an exponential growth curve waiting to happen when you allow yourself not to resist that point of negativity, but to really get curious about it, to lean into it, to ask it what it wants to show you, what it wants you to see. Because what I'm getting is that there is this sense that there may be certain things coming up right now that we thought we already healed from, that we wish weren't coming up for us emotionally, and that we don't want to feel. And so the mind would rather just like put a Band-Aid on it and not feel it and try shoving it down. But that creates this angst and this dissonance in our system that further throws us out of alignment. Instead, it's important if we feel those points of negative emotion coming up to actually lean into it, to ask ourselves, why is this surfacing for me? What is this telling me? How can I shift this energy, not fight it, but acknowledge it and feel it and address it, and then begin to bridge it into a breakthrough? Because just acknowledging and recognizing that there is a breakthrough within every negative point of consciousness within us will cause us to have a totally different perspective towards ourselves. Whenever something comes up for us that feels like anxiety or feels like fear or feels like insecurity, it's actually an invitation into a higher level of consciousness, into a higher level of our own existence, essentially. It's almost like that doorway into a whole new dimension of ourselves that can be so much more magical and beautiful. And it really reminds me of, there are so many spiritual quotes that kind of echo this sentiment. One that I was thinking of is, "The wound is the place where the light enters you." I believe that's a Rumi quote. And another one is, "The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek." The next quote is something along the lines of, I don't have the quote exactly right, but "The growth that you are seeking is through the parts of you that you've been avoiding." And it's funny because I've seen these quotes for a while, but something just finally clicked for me as I was working with this energy, that it's not about fighting those negative feelings, like bringing them to the surface to shame ourselves or to like fixate on them or to fight them. It's about seeing them as portals to our own transformation, seeing them as energy that wants to be transmuted into gold, into beauty, into happiness, into love, into connection, that is just waiting to be like worked with and molded and like seen and felt and then transformed. So I feel that there's something about allowing and facilitating this heavy energy within you to move. And maybe you have certain tools that work for you personally to allow you to work with this energy. Let me know if you ever do want to hear about some of my personal techniques when it comes to moving and shifting energy, because I have a certain technique that I do every single morning that helps me personally to work with energy and to shift it, specifically when it comes to working with any negative points of consciousness that surface. Because the other part of this that I'm getting is sometimes when you feel a negative point of consciousness, you may wonder, where is this coming from? Because it doesn't even really feel like it originated with you at times. And that might be because in some cases, you could actually be picking up on something in the collective field, and you being a light worker, working with the light, working with collective energy and consciousness, maybe naturally picking up on something in the collective field that you are feeling and experiencing through your own being, that you're working with so that you can transmit these new light codes, new belief systems, new ideas for the collective that can help the collective to then find that breakthrough for themselves more easily. So I am going to go ahead and see if any other messages want to come through here. I know that we are already at the 30-minute mark here. I am going to continue this channeling onto our extended version. So if this has been resonating and you do want to connect with the extended, I will leave links to listen either from Patreon or YouTube memberships, just depending on your preference, in the pinned comment and description box under this video. But as some final messages, here we have the attachment card reversed. Yeah, this is about working with that heavy energy that may be surfacing for you with the root chakra upright, allowing yourself to ground yourself during these powerful transformations and shifts as well. Nervous system regulation is going to be so essential for you, especially now. I'm getting that over the past several months or years, you've really been sort of developing or accumulating a whole toolbox, so to speak, of different tools or modalities or methods to calm yourself, to come back to your center, to connect with your internal self. And now it's almost like you're going to be drawing upon all of those different tools and things that you've learned to keep yourself grounded through perhaps the biggest transformation that you've ever experienced. Because I am getting that for many in our collective, what's happening now is quite literally the greatest reset and recalibration that you've ever experienced. With the heart chakra in the upright position, yeah, I feel that the most energy right now for you is literally flowing through the heart chakra. So you may be feeling highs and lows emotionally. You may suddenly feel, again, these waves of grief or anxiety that seem to come through the heart. And I just get this sense that like you are being opened to higher levels of heart openness, of true unconditional love, and like this warmth and softness and really receptivity as well. I feel like the whole universe is teaching you how to be more receptive to the things that you desire more so than ever before. Ooh, I'm feeling a whole message open up there. And I really do want to share some of that with you before we close here. So what I'm getting is, you have been working on being more receptive, being more open to receiving care, to receiving support, to receiving abundance, love, whatever this is for you. But I'm getting that right now, the universe is like specifically sending people or situations or things into your life that are going to almost kind of press the limits of what you feel worthy of receiving. So these are going to be very positive things where you feel like you're getting just what you want, or maybe even more. You feel like you're receiving so much care or so much support or softness or abundance, or it's just so, even like the way in which those things come to you, I'm getting, it's not just that you're going to be receiving those things, but that it also is going to be feeling so effortless. So if there are any lingering wounds or slight points of uncertainty around your worthiness that you may still be holding on to, those are definitely going to be triggered right now. But it's a good thing, because the reason they're being triggered is because you're going to be sent these things and these people and these situations that are so profoundly supportive of you and deeply loving towards you and abundant and generous towards you. And even like your physical reality is going to start showing up for you that way. And so there's going to be that slight inkling of like, am I really worthy to receive this? Can I really let myself be loved this completely? Can life really be this good? Can I really be this abundant and also be achieving that so effortlessly? And I'm getting that some of you listening to this may still be, in fact, many of you may still be in that void. And so hearing this may even trigger some feelings of like, well, I feel that that's coming on some level, but there's also that sense of, is it really going to happen for me? Or is it really happening for me? Still some of those doubts surfacing. And what I'm getting is that the reason my guides wanted to bring this through right at the end of your reading today is to give you a glimpse into your future, into this very beautiful, abundant, loving, generous timeline that you are stepping into, to provide you with some sense of hope that you may have been looking for at this time. Because again, you may still be in the void, you may still be in the unknown, but I just keep hearing it gets better. And not just that, but it gets better and better and better. And I feel like you're on that trajectory. And I know that it might be uncertain or scary right now. And I feel that from so much of the collective, but I'm also catching this glimpse into the kind of timeline that you're being redirected into and how soft and loving and beautiful it is. And I know that you're catching glimpses of that as well. Like there's a part of you that knows that. You may be even kind of getting these moments where you feel that expansiveness. You feel that broader vision opening up. And again, whenever you feel that, let yourself be moved by the higher energy from that inspired place. Whenever you're feeling the opposite of that, resist the urge to like clamp down or control or take action from fear. So it's almost like, I guess we could really sum up a lot of this reading by saying it's sort of like there is this divergence in pathways happening here, where there is this frequency of fear and there's this frequency of uncertainty and doubt and all of those things, the attempts to control, all of that on like, let's call it the fear timeline. And there's also this opposite timeline that feels more abundant than ever, that feels more beautiful and expansive and exhilarating than ever and more effortless than ever, where you're like inspired from a place of passion rather than moving from obligation. And so what I'm getting is going back to the beginning, that idea of activating focus within yourself. When you choose to focus on the higher vision as much as you can, and of course, it's not always easy. This requires so much dedication and just waking up and showing up for yourself like this every single day. But as much as you can, focusing on that higher vision that's beginning to come into clearer picture and letting yourself only be moved from that place. Meaning whenever you feel the old fear programming of that fear timeline activating within you, resisting the urge to make a deal of it or to fixate on it, just letting it pass, letting it move through you, even again, like working within it, leaning into it, asking like, what portal is this leading me through that's actually leading me to an even higher dimension of love? What breakthrough is within this, but not acting from the urgency or the panic. That is going to allow you to actually build a powerful momentum on, let's call it like the love timeline, the abundance timeline, that higher timeline that we're tapping into, without diluting that momentum by dropping back into the fear timeline, if that makes sense, because you're not ever taking action or trying to take steps forward from urgency or from fear. Whenever that happens, you're only using it to further lift you into the energy of love by using points of fear or doubt as those portals for your own transformation into higher levels of inspiration or empowerment or love. And that is the key, because then it allows you to keep consistently building a momentum on that higher timeline until it just carries you like a wave. And I feel at some point it carries you so powerfully that that fear timeline almost feels like it's dissolving, because you're being so carried by that energy of inspiration and love and empowerment. And again, I would love to speak more on like how to turn your points of fear into these portals leading you into higher levels of love. So if that's something you'd like a podcast episode on, I do want to be creating more podcasts again here on the channel where we dive deeper into topics like that and open up our own little portals here virtually of information that can lead us all into higher levels of love and inspiration and connectedness, not just to ourselves, but to each other. So this feels like a really beautiful place to close the reading. And again, if you do want to join me in the extended, the links for that are under the video. Otherwise, I am wishing you a beautiful start to your week, wherever you are in the world and whenever you're listening to this reading, because they are all technically timeless. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for tuning in to the channel and not just being a passive listener, but literally just by being here, you are a co-creator with your energy and your frequency. So I'm excited to see how we collectively manifest forward together here on the channel. Have a beautiful day, and I will connect with you here again in Wednesday's reading.